What we're going to talk about today is how with the same number of clicks from search engines, same number of clicks from social media, same number of people on your website, how you could double your page views, your conversions to an email list, clicks to affiliate links, and purchases of info products by making your website more of a trap and keeping people on your website for longer. But if you are a frequent watcher of this channel, you'll notice the environment is a little bit different. My family and I were sitting in the living room last week, and my wife said, I really like the Oregon coast. I think we should go there someday. And 20 minutes later, we booked this house, we threw all the kids in the car, and we were on the road to the Oregon coast.
'Cause we don't want to grow up. We just want to be young. Play and make believe. Come and rescue me. Feel the sun on my skin and scream. We don't want to grow up. We just want to have fun. Wild and free. Baby, we can dream farther than our eyes have ever seen. I don't want to grow up.
So while I've been here on the Oregon coast, I've been playing with my new toy. This is a crab trap. What you essentially do is you just get the net, you put your bait in there, you throw it into the bay with a rope attached to it, and then you wait about 10 minutes. Here's some GoPro footage from fishing. The crabs climb onto your hoops into the net to get to the chicken or whatever bait you have. You wait about 10 minutes and then you start pulling up the rope and the crabs are trapped in there. And then you have them for dinner. It's been really fun. And that's what got me thinking about this video is how do we trap people in our websites more? So I want to share with you 5 different ways that Google Analytics measures the stickiness of your website and why some of them are really important to pay attention to and others really are not important to pay attention to. The first 2 are the bounce rate and the exit rate on your website. Most people focus on bounce rate, and I would actually shift your focus a little bit more toward the exit rate. The bounce rate is simply the percentage of one-page sessions on your website. Most people consider a bounce to be a bad thing, but Google doesn't necessarily. If somebody Googles what's the weather in Lincoln City, Oregon, and they come to your page and they see exactly what they wanted and they leave, well, you feel fulfilled their need. It wasn't a failure. You did exactly what you wanted. So a higher bounce rate isn't really a bad thing. In fact, these are the bounce rates for several of our websites, and you'll see it's common to see a bounce rate in the 80% kind of numbers. Now, before we go crazy on numbers in this video, I'm talking about once your website reaches like at least 30,000 page views per month. If you're under that and you have pretty low traffic, you're going to see some wild numbers because you have bot traffic. Maybe your best buddies are on there. You impacted a lot if Google Analytics isn't set to ignore you on your website where you'll spend 2 hours working on there. Just you're going to see some wild numbers with low traffic. But once your website reaches some kind of volume, it's not weird at all to see that for a blog. Next is the exit rate. Exit rate is different because it doesn't matter how many pages somebody viewed. It's from that page, which percent of them, like this was the last page they saw. This is the end page on your website. So to me, the exit rate is more important than the bounce rate. The best way to improve it, coincidentally, is to then sort your pages by exit rate and then work on those pages that have a problem or have a higher exit rate. The next one is pages per session, and it's really pretty self-explanatory. Again, once you reach significant volume, anything 1.2 and better, you're doing fine. If you get to 1.8 or 2 pages per session, you're doing a pretty darn good job. But this number is really easily gameable. For example, if you click like, one of those spammy articles like 21 most beautiful cities in America, and you go there and you have to click to a new page for every single one of the best cities in America, then it shows a huge pages per session, but they had a cruddy experience while they were there. So this is an easily gamed number. So as long as you're not gaming it too much, it can be a valuable metric to just know how well you're convincing people to click to more than one page. The last two are time dependent: session duration and time on page. We're going to completely ignore session duration because the way that Google Analytics tracks this really stinks. Because if you come to the website, you may stay there for 15 minutes on the page, but then if you leave and you never click to another page, Google says that was 0 seconds that you were on the website because you never loaded the Google tracking code again, and so it doesn't know how long you were on that page. But the time on page just tracks it differently by it only takes the people that did go to other pages, so it may be a little artificially long, but it gives you a much better view of how long people are spending on each page. The session duration is counting so many zeros that we're actually there a lot longer that it looks artificially low. So I've tried like a million things over the years to improve my numbers, to the stickiness of my website. And I've done so many things with, trying to put a row of read more posts right after the post to try to get them to click there, and all kinds of different things with the menu to try to interest people to stay longer, and it just didn't move the needle. But these three things made huge differences in those numbers. First is probably the most important, and that's when I learned to sell every link. Sell every link. When somebody's reading your article, they want to stay there. They're happy where they are because they're there. They don't necessarily want to click a link to another page because they want to finish where they are. And so they're kind of incentivized to stay. So if you want them to go to another page, you want them to click an affiliate link or sign up for your email list, you gotta sell it. And I found just a huge change in the numbers when I learned to sell my links. So it used to be that I would say something like, when you're riding a dirt bike, it's important to wear a safe dirt bike helmet. And the link would be a safe dirt bike helmet. And then I would just go on with the blog post. And like no one would click that link, my affiliate link to Amazon or to my recommended gear page. And then I learned to sell it. I learned that I have to really convince the person to click on that page. So I may say something like, when I go dirt biking, I always wear a very safe helmet. To me, it's worth the investment. And I learned that the dot specification on most helmets is not nearly as safe as the Snell certification. The problem is they cost a lot of money. That was until I found this dirt bike helmet that's available on Amazon. So it takes a little bit more time, but one, it was more interesting content right there. And at the end of it, I'm really interested in clicking that link for two reasons. One, I sold it. And two, I told them exactly what's going to happen when they click that link. I'm going to Amazon. Now, that's true for affiliate links. It's also true for just an internal link in your website. If you just are writing about something, you just mention, the keyword and you just link it to another page, people are very unlikely to click it. But if you say something like, if you're interested in this topic, you really should go back and read this, Photography 101 post. I spent 45 hours over the course of a month working on this 10-page series of giving you the perfect introduction to photography. Well, people are pretty likely to click that. Wow, what does it look like when somebody spends 45 hours on one blog post? You gotta sell every link. That's how you get people to click in on your website. All right, method number 2 for making your website more sticky. I've spent a lot of time thinking like, what are the best ways that I can contact somebody after they've already been on my website once? Email is one great option. A podcast could be another one. If you have a podcast for your website, you can get them to subscribe and then they may listen to your podcast for 8-10 years afterward. Another one is a YouTube channel. Right now, YouTube is an incredible opportunity, and I do feel comfortable sending traffic from my website to YouTube if I can get them to subscribe. That may change down the line and we want to watch that, but right now it's a great place to send people because they'll probably see your videos in the future. Another one that's a lot less talked about is browser notifications. On improved photography, about 8% of the total traffic is coming from browser notifications. So go to improvedphotography.com right now. You're going to see in the top left, it'll say, allow this website to send you notifications. If you click yes without thinking about it, now every time we make a blog post, it shows as a browser notification in your browser. We're getting a ton of views from that. I don't know how long the heyday is going to last for that. I feel like this is something Chrome is going to shut down pretty soon and they're going to realize this was a huge mistake, but it's working really well right now. So if you have significant traffic on a website, browser notifications are a great way to be able to contact them again. All right, the third way that I've found to really increase the stickiness of the website and all those 5 numbers that we talked about in the introduction, and that's binge content. In our recipe for making a website, we work on some smaller posts, medium, and then larger posts. And in those larger posts, we want to create some content that's just totally binge-worthy. So like if Jim, who has like a million hobbies, if I go to Oregon, I'm like, dude, crabbing is the coolest thing ever. This is so much fun. Well, what did I do when I learned that you can go crabbing here? Well, I immediately Googled it and I started reading websites. And I found a couple, transactional things, where to crab on the Oregon coast, how to catch a crab, where do you buy a crab net, all these different things that I Googled. But if one of those websites would have not just answered my question, but in that post said, so if you're new to crabbing, you've got to read my How to Catch a Crab for Newbies post. I put in all my best tips that I've learned in 5 years of crabbing on the Oregon coast. Everything's in that one post. Well, I'd be so likely to click that, but it didn't happen. As I read all those blog posts, they just had my information and I left. And then I'd go Google something else and find one page and I'd leave. And that's because the websites failed to give me binge content. Something where I could just really sink my teeth in. Maybe a 10-post series on all the different ways to get into sturgeon fishing. Maybe a 10-post series on how to restore a hot rod. Whatever it is you're into, create some binge content and then go back to lots of your old pages that have good traffic and sell a great link to your binge content. By the end of binge content, when they've read 5 or 6 posts in a series from you, some serious meaty content, and you've included pictures of you, some personal anecdotes, they kind of feel like they get to know you a little bit. And that's extremely high chance that you're going to be able to sell them an info product or get them on your info or get them on your email list once they've been through your binge content. For an example of some binge content, just search photography basics and look for the article from Improve Photography. I've spent a lot of time optimizing that photography basics series, and it's brought in millions and millions of page views to that website over time. So that is how I make my websites more sticky. Look at those 5 numbers on your website once you have significant traffic and think of ways that you can trap people in and get more clicks on your website. Thanks everybody for joining me in this video, and now I have an 8-hour drive with 3 screaming kids to get back home.